Everybody. There's not normally this much hustle and bustle before a council meeting, but we just finished a couple back-to-back meetings immediately before this, so we're all coming in a little hot. We've got 4 o'clock, so we'll call this meeting to order. If we should encounter an emergency situation, we will all exit the building. There's 2 sets of doors off of the lobby. If for some reason those are not available, there's another exit behind council here. Our muster point is located near the gazebo in Lions Park, and if we are evacuated for any reason, we will not re-enter the building until given an all clear from staff. Thank you. Next, we'll move into the land acknowledgement. Councillor Mearns.
The town of Sylvan Lake acknowledges with deep respect that we are gathered on Treaty 6 territory, which is also the ancestral homeland of the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. These lands hold significant historical and cultural significance, serving as traditional meeting grounds, vital gathering places, and crucial travel routes for numerous Indigenous nations, including the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Métis, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux. We are profoundly grateful for the invaluable contributions of the traditional knowledge keepers and elders who continue to guide us and remember those who have passed, leaving behind a legacy of wisdom and understanding. In our recognition, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to the countless First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples whose enduring presence has permanently imprinted these lands with a rich heritage dating back centuries.
Thank you, Councillor Mearns. Next, we'll move into open microphone. Open microphone is an opportunity for a member of the public to express his or her feedback on an issue pertaining to the town. Open microphone is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes, with each speaker limiting to a maximum of 5 minutes. After the presentation, members of council will ask only questions of clarification. You will not receive a response or feedback from council immediately after your presentation. Items that require a response will be brought forward at a future date. And I asked Ms. Phillips, our CAO, to give just a quick rundown and refresher for council. How do we action items that come out of an open microphone or a delegations session? Is there a process that you prefer us to follow?
Thank you. Yes, so if there's a question or someone comes up at open mic or during a delegation and we don't receive anything from council, we will not do anything typically. Unless there's a formal request from a delegation, then we might take some initiative. So if you want to see something come of something that comes forward, it's important that you let us know. So the ways to do that, if you just accept as information, nothing happens, just like if you don't make a motion. If it's something that will take some time to compose, to bring, some work to bring back information, you could bring back a notice of motion to the next meeting or a future meeting. There is the information, council request for information and updates. So if it's very basic, readily available information, at that time you could ask for additional information to be brought back on an item. So those are kind of your key ways to let us know what you want to see come from, if something comes up from a delegation or open mic.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So after an open mic or a delegation, we have the opportunity to ask those questions, but then debate and conversation, I typically just make myself a note further down in the agenda if I want to ask it in request for information, or if we want to take that back and follow our notice of motion process. And often we will have, for example, tonight, one of our delegations is from Parkland Regional Library System. Later on in the business item, that is where we will debate it, but it's not immediately after the presentation. So I think that's important because sometimes we have a delegation come and we really want to get into it while it's fresh in our mind, but we do follow our process and it's a little bit later into our agenda. Any questions on that process, council? All right, seeing none, adoption of the agenda. Do we have any additions or removals, Ms. Phillips?
No additions or removals.
Would someone like to make that motion? Yes, Councillor Iwanicki.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Wonderful. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Next, we'll move into the consent agenda. This is an item used to increase meeting efficiency. Council, you'll note any items recommended to be put in the consent agenda are marked with an asterisk on your agenda. And I'll just ask if you have any extensive questions or any items you'd like to remove or debate. We'll do that before the motion is being made. So Council, do we have any items we'd like to remove? And I know Councillor Iwanicki, you have one?
Yes, I'd like to remove agenda item 7G, the appointment of councillor to the CAPE board from the consent agenda.
Excellent, thank you. When we make that motion, we will remove it. I do have a question, but it's a very simple one. on the NRED grant application. I'm curious if it covers, it talks about for commercial, it's in support of the study for commercial. Does it also include industrial needs, or is that something completely different?
Thank you for the question, Mayor Hansen. That would be something completely different. So we would only focus on retail commercial throughout the entire community in that study.
Excellent. Thank you. Council, do we have any other items we'd like to remove or ask questions on? Thank you, Ms. Mercer. Seeing none, would someone like to make that lengthy motion? I didn't just sell it right there. I should have said that differently. Would anyone like to make that really short and concise motion? Councillor Payne.
Short nor concise about this motion. So let me just find the book that it's in. Here we go. I move that the 2025-11-10 regular meeting of council minutes be approved as presented, that the 2025-11-18 special meeting of council meeting minutes be approved as presented, that the 2025-11-18 committee of the whole meeting minutes be approved as presented, that council supports a grant funding application under the Northern Regional Economic Development Grant for a retail commercial gap analysis and action plan as presented in AIR 1267, that council extend the project completion date by 2 years to December 31st, 2027 for CP 1925 new water wells and tie-ins as presented in AIR 1273, that council extend the project completion date by 2 years to December 31st, 2027 for the CP 2402 Herder Drive rehabilitation as presented in AIR 1273, that council extends the completion date to December 31st, 2026 for CP 2412 60th Street Sanitary Main Lakeway to Memorial Trail as presented in AIR 1273, that council extends the completion date to December 31st, 2026 for the CP 2413 Sanitary Trunk Main Service South Annex lands as presented in AIR 1273, that council extends the completion date to December 31st, 2026 for CP 2414 Westwood Sanitary Main and Service Improvements as presented in AIR 1273, that council remove Councillor Teeds Johannesson from the Red Deer River User Group and appoint Councillor Holly Bilodeau as a representative for a term to end on October 2026 as per AIR 1278, and that council remove Councillor Holly Bilodeau from the Community Futures and appoint Councillor Teeds Johannesson as a representative for a term to end on October 2026 as per AIR 1278, and that council approve request to attend meeting electronically for Councillor Iwanicki.
Great job. You are the school teacher in you. We have a motion on the floor. Council, all in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, next we will move along to our public hearings. Oh, I have just flown right by a couple of items. No one even gave me a weird eye. Guys. Okay, we're gonna dial it back to open microphone because we introduced it and then didn't go there. My apologies to those who are here for open microphone. First up, we've got Mr. Darren Kelly, and I believe you are joining virtually. As a reminder, just to hit *6 to unmute yourself, and then we are happy to hear from you. Before you start, we will have a very loud beep in this room. You may not be able to hear that, so maybe we'll just let that start and I'll tell you, because the only things you hear are through the microphone. Councillor Payne's putting his microphone next to the beeping. There we are. We're happy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us back?
I sure can. Hi, everybody. This is Darren Kelly speaking.
Hi.
I'm ready to go if you are.
We are happy to hear from you. Yes, please.
Okay, hi, everyone. Hi, the mayor, councilors. As I said, my name is Darren Kelly. I'm a property owner, 3803 Lakeshore Drive. Thank you for your service, by the way. Having been in the community many times, I know how volunteering for things for a couple hours a month can exceed that a lot. So I do, genuinely appreciate all the time you all spend on these issues. My wife and I have had long ties with Sylvan Lake. Her sisters had a property on 38th Street for nearly 4 decades. We've been there for summers for decades. We rented for a long time and then purchased the property a few years ago. And when we showed up this summer, we arrived around 38th Street to see a porta potty about 10 or 12 meters directly from my barbecue right across from Lakeshore, which was a big surprise for us. And so we immediately kind of reached out to a few folks in the community and worked with folks in the city, including Dawn and Sean and Ron, who've been very helpful to kind of get an understanding of what caused a porta potty to be placed right there in the cottage area, and maybe help find a framework to think about the issue. We understand it was a result of what I'd call maybe a bit of a squeaky wheel phenomena, a few calls in, and we tried to track down some data to find out, what is the need, what's driving the need for a porta potty in that area. And so what we've determined is that, yes, there's been now a process kicked off to look into the various options in the budget for solving what we're not sure is the problem, which is, perhaps people needing to use facilities in the cottage area along the beach at that point. And I guess the bigger picture, stepping back, is that if, any casual observer would look at this, they'd say, well, where are all the people and where's all the action and where's the need? And I think we all know that, especially on the summer weekends, the usage is on the Bicentennial Park, and it's probably 100 times, maybe 500 times more people in that area. The handfuls of people who are in the beach and the cottage area are, less than 1% or so of the action. And, we'd also kind of say, well, what's going to happen in the future with usage in these areas? And with the proposed dock over at Centennial, we think that's going to draw more people in that area. And, we never know about the water levels. They're really low right now. And so maybe there's a handful of more people over in the cottage side of things, but that may change as water levels return to a more long-term average. So what we'd like to kind of think about, well, what else could we do here? What are the downsides of having porta potties right in front of a residential area? And obviously there's aroma and there's privacy concerns and security concerns, the general enjoyment and property values that are part of that. And we'd like to explore other solutions that might be things we could work into, things like patrols on the beach or better signage of where facilities are. And, kind of short answer, we want to put the town's money and the taxpayers' money and get better bang for our buck. And kind of a quick look at that would be, well, maybe there are ways we can fix the existing facilities that are near Centennial, make them more efficient, perhaps expand them there. Think about options around the new dock that's going to hopefully go in, which would be very exciting, by the way. And, if there's more usage there, that might be a better place to put public washroom facilities and keep them away from the residential homes and the general enjoyment there. So our ask is that if we could, I know that Ron is pulling together some numbers. It would be great if we could expand the scope of Ron's work to include other options, which could include better facilities in the Centennial area or where the high traffic locations are, and more consideration for the downsides associated with placing facilities directly into the residential neighborhood. So I think that is it. So thanks, everybody. We look forward to seeing you. I didn't mention we're almost empty nesters. We're 6 months away from being retired there. So Michelle has already integrated herself in the pickleball community. I am not going to be on that team. Not good enough. But we look forward to seeing more of you guys soon. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you so much. And also, even though we gave you a late start on the timer, I was prepared to extend it. You timed that perfectly. To stop that. Council, do we have any questions? Seeing none, I'll just add the comment that we are in the midst of our capital budgeting process right now. That'll take place over the next handful of weeks, so your presentation is well timed for council's consideration. So thank you very much for that. All right, next we will move along to open microphone, and it is a familiar face, Graham Parsons. That was really hard not to say counselor in front of it. You know the drill, wait for the beeps, and then we are very happy to hear from you.
I might go over time, so. Okay, well, I thought you were gonna wait till 5 and then I'd have to listen to Mr. Johnner and his crew behind me, but no, I can leave before that now, thank you. Well, good afternoon. The last time I was in this chair was in the old town hall, so that's been a while, 2010. And I will not tell a lie. This month has been tough. It's been tough on me. It's the day after the election, head was spinning, had no idea, missed the whole day. But with every negative emotion, time is the best healer. And that's why I'm here today and I want to come up and tie up a few loose ends and maybe for what it's worth, offer a few words of experience, of encouragement and experience.
Darren Kelly
is now exiting.
Bye. Okay. We live in a very unique community. It's a great community. It's probably one of the greatest communities in Alberta by far, I think. A community that has been built, it's a community that's built on sharing with others. That's why 98% of us are in this community. My adult life has been devoted to fostering our identity as a great place to enjoy. Hence, the negativity towards visitors bothers me to no end. So, since I'm still in a position to foster positive visitor interaction through the hockey camp, I will continue to do so. And I might mention that I did get onto the Economic Development Committee and the Tourism Advisory Board, and I will continue that work that way. I make the above personal judgment only because the last election was centered around the 22 to 28 days of the massive influx of visitors to our community, which for the past 100 years has forged our identity. Enough about that. To be sitting in the chairs, to be sitting in your chairs is an honor bestowed upon you by our community, and I trust that most of you understand that. You represent 17,000 people, not the 1,000 or 1,200 who voted for you. You look after the community. You're their trusted voice. I trust that you will govern with an open mind and not ideologies. Once again, that is only my opinion. Because I press, all these are my opinions because we live in a political world of far left and far right, and they don't give opinions, they give what they think is the only way out. So all these are my opinions. Now, on to my appreciation. I first want to thank the many councils on the wall before my time that built the foundation of this town. Think of their challenges. Think of the growth that we've had since 1972. When I moved here, there was 1,700 people and went to 4,200 people in a real hurry. Think of the challenges then and the ones since then on the growth that came out. I've seen a lot of those changes in my time here. I want to thank the council I want to particularly thank the council from 2005 to 10, who planned and changed Lakeshore Drive to the world-class 3-kilometer park that it is today. It's just outstanding. And I was a little bit worried about it when it happened, but I want to thank them. And I'd also like to thank all my council colleagues over the years that have been 40% of my business and social life for the past 15 years. There's so many of them. I could name them all. Jazz. Yeah, you've been there. Megan. So, Tim. And all the others. It's just been part of my life. It's, like I said, 40% of everything in my life. So that's what's made it a little tough. But I've had the privilege of working along with 3 great mayors, Mayor Susan Sampson, Mr. McIntyre over here, right there, and of course, Mayor Megan. But in the end, it is the professionalism that surrounds us in this room and in every public office and facility in this town, and that's all these people here and all those people there. They make it work. As council, you are really adding your collective ideas to the plans that have been made years in the making. The Next Door Center, Memorial Trail, that was years and years and years, and all of a sudden we got gifted to us because of 781, but we got it. Pagado Park, and so on, many, many, many more. All the projects that Public Works does, planning roads and whatnot, that people don't see. But those are plans, and you guys have to rubber stamp them or add your collective voices. Now, not that the four of you that are here have to be reminded, but we had the project, and this is how I think. We had the intersection here by the bank, and all the hue and cry about that, and the traffic and whatnot. And how I looked at that intersection, I went through it every day just to test it out, was not stopping and going, but watching the people come from the parking lot across from the bank, around over the tracks, and make a safe, with carriages and whatnot, safe crossing for the pedestrians on that wild corner that used to be. So that's how I looked at it, not the negativity. But in 2 years, you're going to go through the redevelopment of 50th Street. And those plans are 12 years in the making, at least 12 to 15. So to all the planners, all the departments, planning and development, public works, FCSS, Mr. Moore, to the town staff and the reception desks all the way up to the CAO, I thank you. Now I don't have to stay.
Thank you for whoever cleared the clock.
Who's cutting onions? Well, he didn't say for me to say anything else, but let me sing his praises and maybe tell him to go check the tape afterwards. One thing I have to say about Councillor Parsons is, although that election was tough and he took a day, one day after then, we saw his application for a number of town committees. And I think that's just such a good test of his character, that doesn't matter in what role, he's here to help the community. And I know those that have had the chance to get to work with him know that we are better because of our time with him here. And excited that it's not stopping. I bet you he'll be a squeakier wheel in a different seat, so look out. Oh. Okay. Let's move into public hearings and delegations. First up, we've got a delegation on Marina Bay water quality. Mr. Shea, happy to hear from you.
Thank you. I got to follow the godfather of Sylvan Lake. It won't be nearly as emotional, I can guarantee that much. I'm Greg Shea, and I'm lead on a committee, a water quality committee of the Marina Bay Homeowners Association. I'm here with 4 or 5 of my neighbors and fellow committee members sitting behind me, one of which was pointed out by Graham already as the reason he was leaving, I think. I wasn't sure. I'd also like to thank all of you. I've spoken to a few of you directly, personally, and sometimes via email, but what you do is invaluable to the town, and it's a thankless job. I think I've said that to a couple of you. It's really got to be really hard. You know, you could walk on water and a third of the town's going to think you're just a terrible person, which is really such a tough spot to be in. But that said, I'm here to probably bring to people's attention something they haven't really had to pay too much attention to, because it's kind of been kept within Marina Bay for quite a few years now. But it's about the quality of the water that comes down Golf Course Creek into Marina Bay and eventually into Sylvan Lake. And the first slide I have is just a map. I'm sure most people are at least somewhat familiar with Golf Course Creek, but it starts actually earlier than where I have it starting here, west of 60th Street here in town, and flows through the golf course, through some residential neighborhoods, through the golf course, and eventually empties into Marina Bay through culverts that go underneath Lakeshore Drive. That area, the picture here in the top left is the culverts at Lakeshore Drive and that empty into Marina Bay. It's a fish spawning area on the right. There's public fishing in Marina Bay. People probably just think of it as a private marina for the most part, because the launch is private to residents and the docks are private to residents, which isn't actually true completely. But it's also a public fishing area, and almost all the sailboats actually in our marina, and the picture in the bottom right are all the sailboats there, I would think, are probably the sailing club. So it's home to the Sylvan Lake Sailing Club. I think we still house the RCMP boat, Zodiac boat too, in that marina. So it's not, I guess, as private as people might think. It's public land. I mean, a lot of people don't know it, but it is. There's a lot of public land within Marina Bay, and so the people impacted by the water quality are fishermen and the sailing club and anybody else who uses that bay. Next slide, Golf Course Creek. We test, and I'll go into this more in a minute, but we have been testing for years the water quality. We test for nutrients, phosphorus, nitrogen, chlorophyll. We test water turbidity. We test clarity. It's not we have a local firm, Richard Carson of RC Bio does it for us and has done it for years. He does it a few times a year. The biggest one we focus on is phosphorus because it's the biggest driver of algae. When we've had algae in the marina, it's because of high phosphorus levels. At times, the phosphorus levels in Golf Course Creek have been high enough to generate blue-green algae, which is anything above 0.1 milligrams per liter. So in the bar chart on the right-hand side, I guess the one key thing I'd really like to point out is the blue bars. The blue bars are the phosphorus levels historically. I only went back to 2018. I think we have a longer history of phosphorus levels in the Golf Course Creek as it empties into Marina Bay. And the dashed lines, so there's a dashed line of 0.05. Anywhere between 0.05 and 0.1 is considered eutrophic, which you'll see in the box below. You can have frequent nuisance blooms, that they call it, declining water quality, fish stress because there's less oxygen in the water. It doesn't necessarily lead to algae blooms. It has in the past, but it doesn't necessarily have to. Anything above 0.1 milligrams per liter is considered hypertrophic, which is we have persistent blooms, you have poor quality water, you have odor. You also have potential toxins like cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria is what generates blue-green algae. So that's your real danger zone. The eutrophic range, there's a number of lakes, I think, in Alberta that are eutrophic, and they manage them appropriately. They try to, at least. The hypertrophic is really beyond manageable using the sort of mitigation measures that we've been using, although they've helped a lot. You can see the blue bars went down 2018 to 2020 and then started to spike again. We don't know why that is. 2021 to right through to 2025 was the worst year ever. Significantly hypertrophic levels of phosphorus. We don't know necessarily why. It could be anywhere along that stream, upstream, or residential developments, new developments, West 60th, golf course. We haven't really gone too deep into identifying what the source is, other than realizing that we have a problem. The green bars are Marina Bay. phosphorus levels historically. So you can see in 2018, the two levels were pretty close to each other. There wasn't much difference between the creek and Marina Bay, and there shouldn't be really. I mean, it's almost one continuous sort of body of water. But they were both eutrophic, and so what we decided in the Bay was we were going to start to distribute products, these bioproducts, and I'll go into it further, what we do and why we do it and where we get them, to get these phosphorus levels in the Bay below eutrophic levels, which we did in 2018. 2019, you can see they started to drop relative to the creek. 2020, another significant drop relative to the creek. In 2020, we also implemented another circulation system, which I'll go into in more detail too, to try and do the same thing. Thankfully, we did, because 2021, again, the Golf Course Creek, which empties again into Marina Bay, was hypertrophic, and we were managed to keep the Bay quality water phosphorus levels significantly lower. So we didn't see the what would have been potentially at least blue-green algae, or at least significant algae blooms. You can see, I'll let you read 2022, 3, 4, 5 by themselves, but you can see we've been able to maintain a big difference between the water coming in and what the Marina Bay has been, but we're on a bit of a treadmill. The blue bars are continuously high in the hypertrophic region, and we have increased the amount of bioproduct we've been putting into Marina Bay, and been a lot more cognizant of making sure that circulation system is going 24/7. I'll describe that more as well. But we feel like we're on a bit of a treadmill. The water coming in is poor quality almost every year, and we need to keep doing more and more to keep it from affecting the water quality of the Bay and then eventually the lake. Contributors to high phosphorus levels, and we don't, this comes from RC Bio, to be honest, and a little bit of research, but main contributors are runoff from cleared land, upstream agricultural and urban expansion. That makes sense. We have both agricultural land and expansion. Urban expansion was the 60th. Up there was sewage system leakage. We don't know if that's the case or not, but it's always one of the potential causes. Cattle operations runoff, which we probably do have upstream as well. And fertilizers containing phosphorus, which the golf course probably does, although I think we've spoken to the golf course specifically about it before, and I think they've really taken that down significantly, the phosphorus. I don't know, low phosphorus, I think fertilizer is what they have been using. On the right-hand side are actual pictures of algae we had in Marina Bay. The top right picture is the entrance. So it's the boat channel where boats leave Marina Bay and go into Sylvan Lake. So that's right on the edge. That's basically a shoreline, almost shoreline of Sylvan Lake, butting up against Marina Bay. And below is another algae bloom along the shoreline. Besides water contributing phosphorus, we also have silt flows, significant. So anytime you have upstream development, you have erosion, there should be mitigating measures to keep that silt and clay from coming downstream, but it doesn't work as well as it should. Silt is a huge carrier of phosphorus and is definitely part of the problem. Anytime we have a big rainstorm, we can spot test the phosphorus levels that come into the Bay, and they spike high, which makes a lot of sense because you get all the silt coming down as well as the water flow at the same time. So, there's a number of reasons. Number of things that can be done upstream, like silt fences and stabilization, like hydroseeding and other things like that can be done to try and minimize the amount of silt that comes down. A lot of these things are probably built into development rules. Just not sure how well they're followed, I guess. Necessarily. There was detention ponds are helpful and diversion berms. We had detention ponds, but I know we had a breach a couple of years ago of one that crossed that 60th Street and caused some problems 2 or 3 years ago. So, I think there might be more to be done up there. So what have we been doing to sort of fix the problem, not fix the problem, but mitigate the problem more so? In 2020, we put a circulation system in. So if anyone who's been by, and I'm sure everybody has, Marina Bay, right in the entrance is a yacht club. The basement of the yacht club is a pump room now. It used to be a storage room. We had to turn it into a pump room. That picture on the right is the basement of that yacht club. We put in a circulation system in 2020. It was operational in July or August or something. It cost the homeowners about $660,000. At the time, we had to borrow money. We spread it over time. It's been paid off now, but we operate it June through September, and it's a pipe that is it's submerged, and it goes out 35 meters out into the lake and circulates water between the lake and Marina Bay to try and even out the phosphorus levels. The lake is significantly better, significantly lower phosphorus levels, not eutrophic even. So what we do is circulate, also it's a temperature balancing, which helps a lot, but it's circulating between Marina Bay and the lake, and it goes about 9.8 cubic meters per minute. The pumps are monitored by volunteers. I mean, we're all volunteers, of course. We have a remote camera that monitors them 24/7, and we monitor not just the pressure, but temperatures, vibration, noise levels. We log all these things to make sure the pumps are operating properly. They're not auto priming pumps, and so what happens is if we get a power failure, so one of us has to go out and restart them. You have to reprime these pumps yourself to get them going again, to keep the water circulating. So there's some effort involved. The electricity costs about $15,000 a year just to keep these things going. That's just June through September. So a not insignificant cost. The other mitigating thing I mentioned we were taking to try and help mitigate the problem is these bioproducts. One is called Muckpucks, and one is called Flock and Lock. We get both of these. Anybody hears like they start to think chemicals going into the lake. That's not the case at all. These are purely natural bioproducts. In fact, they're used in fish ponds, which is where we get them. We get them from Smoky Lake Trout Farm, where they raise trout. Max uses them out there. That's what he uses to reduce phosphorus and nitrogen and some of the other nutrient levels, and that's how he makes sure that they're healthy for fish. So they don't do, they do actually the opposite of harming the fish. They keep the water oxygenated and keep it healthier for his fish and for our marina as well, and for the spawning area, which is pretty much where those culverts meet, go under Lakeshore Drive and meet Marina Bay. So Flock and Lock does something similar to muck pucks. Muck pucks are tiny little pucks that we distribute. We do it, now we've got it up to every second week just to keep up, and Flock and Lock we do every second week as well, just to keep up with the amount of phosphorus coming down through the creek. So the last thing we do is water quality monitoring, and I think I mentioned that it's a local firm, Richard Carson, RC Bio, does water quality testing for us. He's a professional aquatic engineer and has been doing it for us for years. He tests in 4 locations now upstream, in the west of 60th, where there's a railroad bridge up there, west of 60th Street, where the creek starts. It doesn't really start, it starts upstream of there, but it's sort of our starting point. Then there's, like I say, Golf Course Creek at Lakeshore Drive, where it empties into Marina Bay. Then we test Marina Bay, and then we test Sylvan Lake to see. The intention there is really, well, first of all, we need to know where Marina Bay is and how much and what Golf Course Creek is looking like, so we can moderate or increase the amount of product we're distributing and have an early warning system if we have a problem. But we also are trying to help identify where the problem originates. You know, is it west of 60th? Is it the golf course? Is it? And it just seems to change all the time. And so I can't honestly say we have a good answer to that. Sometimes the levels are extremely high west of 60th Street, and then they start to go down as you get closer and closer to Marina Bay. There's been times where west of 60th is lower and the golf course is higher, and for whatever particular reason. And it's not, doesn't seem to be tied to when the golf course fertilizes, because we talked to them about that too. So I can't honestly say where. We're trying to figure out where it comes from, but that costs us homeowners, again, about $14,000 a year. I don't think I mentioned the products were about $11,000 a year just for the products themselves. So what happens if we weren't doing this? Let's say we weren't distributing these bioproducts and we weren't, didn't have a circulation system. Given the, you know, hyper eutrophic conditions of Golf Course Creek, it's likely that we would have, we would definitely have algae, significant algae, and and quite possibly blue-green algae. And blue-green algae, of course, is unsafe for drinking or swimming, kills fish, poisons other animals like dogs. And for humans, it causes rashes, vomiting, diarrhea, breathing issues. I mean, it's a very bad thing. Other lakes, especially in shallow lakes in Alberta, have had blue-green algae, and AHS goes out and shuts down. They can shut down a portion of the shoreline that's affected and leave sort of the rest of it open. Marina Bay probably wouldn't work like that because it's such an enclosed area. So once you've got blue-green algae in there, it's going to be really hard to avoid it. You can't just shut down a little portion. It won't be in a portion of the shoreline. It'll be spread out throughout Marina Bay around the whole bay, and so you're going to have a significant problem. The Alberta Health Services would have to be notified if that was the case, and if we see blue-green algae. We have in the past, but we've been able to get rid of it. This was years ago, as not a recent event. But certainly, we would have to be notifying that AHS would come out. They would look upstream to see what was the cause and see if they could stop it one way or another. They couldn't, because Golf Course Creek, you're not going to be able to do anything short-term to fix that problem.
And I'll just jump in to note,
Yeah.
we forgot to set the timer, but we do just have a couple minutes left. So I want to make sure we leave time for questions.
I'll be super quick. Then the other implications would be no swimming, no fishing, no sailing club activities in Marina Bay. Those would all be shut down as well. So I do, of course, there's an ask, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So what we're asking is to partner with the town, where we continue to do the things on the right. We continue to monitor, the marina for algae. We continue to go through all the water reports from RC Bio, compare them to history, see where we're at. We continue to, the volunteers continue to distribute the muck pucks and flock and lock bi-weekly. We monitor the circulation system 24/7 and keep responsibility for restarting it when it goes down. And we would volunteer 3 people. I put 3 people, but I think with an engineering firm in conjunction with the town to provide more structural solutions, because these are all band-aids really to the problem, and there's structural solutions that may not be that difficult that we'd like to work through. So what we're asking for is for the town to take over the water quality testing, to take over the purchase of the products we have to distribute, and help with the cost of the circulation system, and to commit to hiring an engineering firm to explore the structural solutions.
Thank you. Council, we'll start with any questions. Yes, Councillor Awaniki.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shea. I have a question about the product that's used. And you might have touched on it, and I missed it. I'm sorry if that's the case. Have you noticed, a two-part question. First is, where did you get the information that this is a product that is allowed to be distributed into the lake? And then the second is, do you really notice on an ongoing basis that it has a meaningful impact, or because I see you only test monthly? Mm-hmm. Have you done like a test before and after kind of thing, like within a week?
We've done, what we did is we actually, without telling the homeowners that were impacted, we left a section untreated in front of a few homes, and it generated algae. So there's no question in our minds. And when we distribute the product, the algae will go away. Like we can get rid of some of it, and we know for sure shallower water, warmer temperatures are going to drive algae. We know when to distribute, I guess, the product, and we've been able to stay ahead of it. The products themselves, the muck pucks and flock and lock, we get them again from Smoky Lake Trout Farm, Max Maynard. I would talk to him more about it's Health Canada essentially is the one who approves these products, and so and the Health Canada has a label of approved uses. Which it would be, fish ponds would be one, marina, if I look at the labels, say marina, any sort of enclosed ponds would be allowed uses for these products. But it would be specifically, Health Canada goes through these things, and the label of the product, believe it or not, is the law. That's what determines whether, what and when you can use it. and where, so.
Any additional questions, council? I do have one dialing way back, because I'm just wrapping my head around how all of this works. But years ago, when the Sylvan Lake Management Society was in place, did the Marina Bay group work with them? Was there a connection between the two? I've just heard some rumblings and some interest in neighboring communities and having some similar conversations again, and I'm curious how that used to all play together, if you have any background.
I think the short answer is probably no, although we do know, I think we know Graham. He was the head of the Sylvan Lake Watershed Society. He's since retired. It's been shut down for a few years now. Yeah. Their mandate was very broad, so he would cover watershed issues all around the lake, not just obviously specific to our requirements. So we certainly interacted with him and talked to him about it, and he's a wealth of information, has a ton of data. But I wouldn't say we necessarily work together, and us just sort of joining the Sylvan Lake Watershed Society wasn't really going to help our needs because we don't have any influence over Lacombe County, and he was covering the whole. He had a lot of area to cover.
That's fair. And let me just express, there was no pro and con to that question or answer. I was just curious because I am just learning how this all has been working.
His website still, you can still access it, although we shut it down, and has an incredible amount of information for people.
Yeah, thank you. Other than that, any additional questions? I'll thank you very much. I know you're here because you care about our lake, and we know that that is the jewel of our community, so looking forward to some further discussions. Thank you. Council, are we ready to go right into libraries, or would you like to take 5? We're good? All right. No one told me no, so let's move to a delegation from Parkland Regional Library, Mr. Shepherd.
So thank you for having me here again. It's hard to believe another year has gone by. I will try to make this as concise as I possibly can because there's really not anything terribly exciting about this year's Parkland Regional Library System budget. I know you have all of these documents in your package, so if you actually wanted to, I'm going to walk you through the significant changes between last year's budget and this year's, and you can just refer to this particular document, which shows you our budget in its entirety. So overall, you'll see that it's not quite a $4 million budget. It's divided into 3 sections. The first is the income. Of course, it has the fewest lines. The second section is cost of, it's essentially the things that we are doing for our libraries or spending on our libraries. And then there are operational costs, which are in the third section. So if you just want to follow along, when it comes to the 2026 Parkland budget, again, we need to get the board to pass it first, which they did, and then it goes to the municipalities, and 2/3 of the municipalities that make up the system, representing 2/3 of the population, are necessary for the budget to be passed. And we've got 63 member municipalities, most in the province. And for 2026, we're asking for an 18-cent per capita increase in the requisition. Now that works out to about a 1.84% increase. And we are also building this budget around certain assumptions. I do want to talk a little bit about some resolutions that went to Alberta municipalities and RMA, but I'll do that at the very end. But we're making the assumption, because we're trying to get more money out of the provincial government, because if you look at those income lines, you'll see that our operating grant, we get a significant amount of funding from the provincial government. About 41% of our budget comes from the government of Alberta. But we're making the assumption that for next year, we will continue to receive a operating grant, so the system grant of $4.75 per capita, and that the rural library service grant will remain at $5.60 per capita. And that's a significant amount of money that we receive on behalf of municipalities that don't have a board. So Sylvan Lake has a board, has a library. But Red Deer County does not. So we get money on behalf of Red Deer County, and then we say, Red Deer County, how do you want that divided up? And in fact, we give all of that money, that $560 per capita grant, we distribute it as the county requests. So that's a significant amount of income to libraries, and it's worth, let me see here, over $452,000 out of our budget. So that's just in and out for us. But our overall expenditures have only increased by just under 1%. So it's 0.99%. So that's our budgetary expenditures. The reason for the difference in the requisition and our overall budget expenditures is simply because our interest income, if you look under the 1.5 on our income, you'll see that that's gone down just because interest rates are lower on our current account and our bond portfolio. So for 2026, we're anticipating that, 17 expense lines are projected to remain unchanged from this year. 13 will see increases and 8 will actually see decreases. The population that we're using for invoicing municipalities is the 2024 Municipal Affairs Population Lists. We'd used the Treasury Board figures for a couple of years when the population lists weren't being updated, but we're back to using the Municipal Affairs list because they are now being updated. I've already mentioned interest income being down. We are reducing our cooperative collection line, that's 2.4. in the second section of the budget by $5,000. That's money that we are using to augment library collections because we're trying to reduce the amount of interlibrary loans, and we actually can see what people are requesting from outside of Parkland because Parkland is the second heaviest user of interlibrary loans in the province of Alberta. And that's to pay for e-content. And the e-content platform fees have increased by a little over $6,100. And those are for existing products, but one of our challenges is most of the stuff that we purchase or acquire comes out of the United States and it's billed for in US dollars. So the US dollar has a significant impact on our budget depending on what it is. Our internet connection fees are down because we didn't actually need the extra bandwidth that we budgeted for previously. Some of our library service tools have increased. It would take a while to explain what we use them for, but it's things like cataloging tools to help our catalogers. But again, and another particular product, SurveyMonkey, that we use to consult with libraries on a regular basis. But again, these are licensed products, and again, the value of the Canadian dollar is impacted. What else would you be interested in? 2.13 has been eliminated. That was our periodicals line, but that's because we've simply moved the same dollar amount to line 2.22, that's reference. Our workshop line, we've increased by a couple $1,000 simply because our costs for our free conference that we offer every fall is simply, catering's gone up, everything's gone up. So we have to pay for that because we don't want to charge our libraries for being able to attend that. One of the biggest things, again, is e-content, 2.19. That has gone up because we have had requests from our libraries to increase the amount of e-content that we provide. And so we're doing our best to respond to that. So that is a slight increase and does impact our bottom line. Our audit fees are down. That's now down into the third section. 3.1, and the only reason I even mention this is because it would seem weird. No, most people don't see audit fees or auditor costs go down, but in our case, it's because of the LAPP audit that we have to do every 3 years. So we just did one, so the cost between this year and the next couple of years is going to be lower. Salaries. 3.9, staff are getting who are eligible, and we have a number of staff at the end of the grid. They will, and those who can get a step up the grid will get a step up the grid, but there is no COLA added to the salaries for this year. And really between salaries and benefits combined, it's only a $19,000 increase. And I had a strange question. You don't probably care about our supplies or stationery, but I did get a question. It's only $2,000, but why our telephone line increased by that amount? And it's simply because we do have to do multi-factor authentication for pretty much everything now. So have to require that staff have phones, and rather than get them telephones, we give them a small amount of money per month to contribute towards their phone bill, because we have to tell them you need telephones. And again, I've mentioned that provincial grants are a significant portion of our budget, about 41%. Now I'll see if I can find this, the return on the municipal levy. It's in your package. I'm not going to go through it in a bunch of detail, but this is really sort of a conglomeration of that whole second section of the budget. And what we're doing here is we're trying to show you that of the total amount of requisition that the municipalities are putting in, 91% of that amount is going back to the libraries in one form or another. So you have to realize that if you think of it this way, our operating expenses are covered by the provincial operating grant. The money that you're putting in is going to the libraries. The other thing I wanted to just mention is that we are trying to get an increase in funding from the provincial government, and I don't know how many of you as councillors would have been at either Alberta municipalities or at probably not RMA, but we did put forth 2 resolutions, and Parkland and Calgary Public Library in particular have been trying to get an increase in provincial operating grants, because the provincial government, we're very grateful for what they provide, but the way that they basically increase their grants, it's whenever they have some extra money. And so what the request was an immediate increase in the operating grant provided by the provincial government of $1.34 per capita. We also asked, or particularly Calgary wanted to see the use of current population statistics, because since grants are issued on a per capita basis, those urban centers, including Sylvan Lake over the years, see significant population increases, but that's not always reflected in operating grants. And then the one thing that we were, for representing the smaller rural libraries, was that we wanted to see some sort of cost of living adjustment or some sort of inflationary adjustment added to the grants, because as I'm sure you're aware, inflation ebbs and flows, but even if you get the same amount of money the next year, it doesn't actually mean that you have the same buying power. So overall, our total budget increase is only $38,599 spread out over a total population of 223,641, which is our service population. That is all I really have to say, except to say that our budget's actually already passed by the number of municipalities and the amount of population. So that's just a little tidbit. I do hope that you will approve our budget, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you might have about it.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Yes, Councillor Johansson.
So I just want to, I don't know if this is a typo on our end, or if I'm missing something here, but on our AIR report 1274, we've got it listed. It says at a per capita rate of $9.99 and in a population of 15,995, PRL is requesting 159,790, which is an increase of 2879. But if you flip over to page 38 of our agendas, at the bottom, the population is listed at 16,275 with an increase of $5,600. So excuse me. So I don't know what we're voting on, to be honest with you. Are we voting on increasing it by 2879 with a 15,995 population, or are we voting on increasing it double that 5,600 with a 16,275 population?
Okay, I'm not actually sure what you're talking about, because I don't, are you reading off the briefing note that would have been prepared by administration? Because I don't have that.
Yes,
Yes.
that would be within the report. So I guess just to clarify, I think on page 38 of our agenda, which is the number that you've got up on the screen, that is the accurate number. I think the error is in our report, so we'll leave that for.
Okay, so we're the actual, it's not 2,800, it's 5,676 is the increase number. Okay, yeah, there's just, we just had
the actual increase, and further down in your package, we actually included the number of the municipalities that make up Parkland, including what you paid in 2025
Yeah,
and what
that's
we're
what I'm looking at.
anticipating in 2026. So it should be $5,676.30.
Yep, so we have that, that's what I'm saying. In our agenda report, it has it with the population at 15,995, not 16,2. So we just there's two different things that we're looking at. So I just wanted to clarify which one we were actually.
Well, I can tell you what we're invoicing on.
Yeah, so you're the 16,275 population, 5,600. Okay.
Thank you. Great catch. Council, any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Always appreciate your time.
Thank you.
For council's information, it's always a bit of an awkward one because our budget cycles really don't line up. We've made this request in years past that we'll see the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library budget on the same night, but we will only decide on one tonight, you'll notice, because the library decision comes later in our budgeting process. And sometimes there's some small adjustments between presentation and the final outcome, but we do ask for them to be together just because sometimes there's some overlap in our questions. So we appreciate that you're able to be here. Thanks so much for your patience as we work through this. And next up, we have the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library. The crowd is dwindling, but the board is strong. Look at this attendance tonight.
Ron's a lot taller than I am. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Haley Ament, and I am the director of the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library. I'm excited to present our proposed 2026 library budget. I'll walk you through our proposed budget increases and rationales behind them. So getting right into the numbers. So each of you have a copy of our proposed budget along with detailed notes explaining all of the changes, but I will draw attention to a few areas. So after careful consideration and discussion, we are requesting a 7% increase on the town's requisition. This amounts to $32,358 over the 2025 requisition. This increase is essential in maintaining and expanding service in response to a growing community need. So this brings our total requisition to $494,617. And for context, last year we asked for a 2% increase, and then the previous year was a 4% increase. So the 2026 request aligns with historical growth and current demand. Looking at operational costs, you will see an increase due to contractual obligations and necessary upgrades. We are due for a full audit this year, as well as an LAPP audit, and as per the town's financial review schedule, which was implemented in 2024. So again, for historical knowledge, in the 2022 books had a full audit and an LAPP audit. The 2023 and 2024 books had a simple financial review, and so that means for next year, our 2025 books will be due for a full audit and LAPP audit. We have upgraded our digital scheduling software from Excel-based to a digital program, and we've also added the PS5 subscription to support barrier-free technology access, which was actually a project that was initiated in 2025 through fundraising and donations. You will see an increase in our salary and wages and coordinating employer contribution lines. Our visitor numbers have grown significantly with just over 24% increase from 2023 to 2025. In order to maintain high levels of service, we need staff support, including increase in front desk staff. We are proposing a modest 3% cost of living adjustment and step increases for eligible staff. This will help keep our wages competitive in the library and administrative industries. Additionally, we are requesting funding for a part-time technology assistant. This role is critical as our current staff spend over 100 hours per month on technology assistance, and we are helping with over 400 print jobs per month. So this slide highlights visitor trends in our library over the last 3 years and what they mean for our operations. So 2025 is showing strong growth compared to both 2024 and 2023. Every month in 2025 so far, up to October, has outperformed previous years. The increase from 2023 to 2024 was moderate, and however, the 2024 and 2025 rise is much steeper, signaling an accelerated demand. Looking at the graph, the blue line for 2025 consistently stays above the other 2 years. Notice a sharp spike in September and October, where visitor numbers jumped around about 8,000 residents in October, compared to about 6,700 in 2024 and 4,000 in 2023. Demand for library service is growing rapidly. To maintain service qualities, we need to consider adding staff and resources. This slide focuses on our demand for tech help services and what that means for our staffing. So on average, we are seeing over 100 tech help requests per month. In peak months, this is about 140 sessions. So this can be 5 minutes, but it can also be over an hour of one-on-one tech help with a person. The graph shows that the demand has been consistently high over all 3 years. In 2025, represented by the blue line, it remains strong and steady with several months near or above 130 sessions. Even though there is some fluctuation, overall the trend indicates sustained need for tech support. Notice in February and March, both 2024 and 2023 have spikes of over 150 tech help sessions, and 2025 stays close to that level in March. Later months like September and October still hover over 120, 130 sessions, showing a demand that does not drop off significantly throughout the year. This ongoing high demand is straining our current staff. And to maintain service quality, we recommend hiring a part-time tech support person. You will also see a slight decrease in our training and development line and an increase to our travel line. So PD funding was increased in 2025 to cover a bulk first aid recertification for staff. There is a slight reduction planned for 2026, but ongoing needs for training to keep staff current and effective. Much of our PD opportunities involve significant travel, including attending the Stronger Together conference in Edmonton, which is the primary opportunity for library staff to network and learn about the industry. We've also had a 283% increase in our incident rates. So that's a modest 6 in 2023, 9 in 2024, and so far in 2025, we've had 23 incident rates with 5 no trespassing orders. The rise in incidents demonstrates an urgent need for enhanced OH&S training and conflict management skills to protect staff, patrons, and to maintain a safe environment. Additionally, in 2025, we've added an outreach programming position, which requires mileage, so that contributes to the increase in our travel line. This position has been able to add about 10 monthly outreach programs, which have so far this year reached 3,663 residents so far. This includes supports for senior housing communities, homeschooling communities, and a stronger relationship with the schools in the town. We're also asking for an additional $1,000 for library programming. In 2025 so far, we have delivered over 507 programs and for 5,850 patrons. It's an average of 11.5 attendees per program. We have transitioned from offering cost recovery programs to focusing on more barrier-free events. Our goal is to offer barrier-free entertainment to support residents in this financial crisis. In 2025, we have used $1,716 for fundraising and donated funds to host programs that would have otherwise had an associated cost. We are also requesting an additional $3,700 for collections. We are seeing a strong engagement in both physical and digital collections. To keep pace with this demand, we are increasing our material budget. with particular focus on digital content. So between 2023 and 2024, total circulation demand increased by 8%. In 2024 and the projected figures of 2025, we are expecting another increase of 6.8%. For digital borrowing, the trend shows significant growth over the past few years. The digital demand surged by 62%, indicating a swift shift towards digital demand, and that was in 2023 to 2024. And the projected increase for 2025 is 12.73%. Digital demand grows drastically and far outpaces our current offering. Additionally, the cost of books has increased significantly over the past 5 years, and those are physical books. Using data from our book vendor, the overall average percentage increase of book prices across all formats and all ages between 2021 and 2025 is 7.9%. Our priority is to balance resources across physical and digital formats, ensuring accessibility and meeting evolving user needs. This slide shows trends in physical circulation and what that means for our collection and our service planning. As you can see, circulation is rising every year. 2025 has the highest averages and record peaks compared to previous years. October 2025 hit 8,398 checkouts, the highest point on the chart, which was partially due to the teacher strike, we will admit. This growth is putting pressure on our collections and our resources. Looking at the graph from the blue line in 2025, it consistently stays above both 2024 and 2023. And notice a sharp peak in both July and August, both hitting that over 8,000 mark. Even the lowest months in 2025 are higher than most months in previous years. So circulation has increased over 8% in 2024 and continues to climb in 2025. To meet patron demands and maintain quality service, we need more items in our collection. This slide highlights trends in our digital circulation and what that means for our library digital strategy. As I've stated before, digital circulation is increasing every year as well. 2025 has the highest averages so far, with most months over 1,000 checkouts. September and October are particularly strong, exceeding 1,200 checkouts. Compared to 2023, usage has more than doubled, showing a major shift towards e-resources. Looking at the chart, the blue line in 2025 stays well above previous years. Notice the steady climb in mid-year onward, reinforcing that sustained demand. So we plan to expand our digital options, which will help maintain service and quality for patron needs. So our community is growing and it is evolving. The library must keep pace to remain vital and responsive as a resource. Community demand is growing and diversifying, and services must evolve to meet those changing needs. Staff need the right tools and support to deliver high-quality service. Strategic investment in staffing, technology, and training are essential to maintaining service excellence. Professional development and safety training are critical with the rise in incident rates. Audit and compliance requirements must be upheld for financial accountability. One of the key ways the library is ensuring sustainable growth is responsive services is through implementing our 2026 and 2030 strategic plan, otherwise known as our plan of service. This plan outlines our long-term priorities and provides a clear roadmap to guide service expansion, staff development, and inclusive access to resources. So this budget directly supports our strategic goals, which include expanding programs to meet diverse community interests, diversifying collections with a focus on digital and inclusive materials, strengthening partnerships with schools, seniors residents, and local organizations, building a future-ready facility that meets the evolving community needs, and maintaining good governance and operational excellence to ensure professional standards and reliability, high-quality library services in our community. So in summary, we are requesting $32,358 increase to support staffing, outreach, technology, professional development, and programming. This investment ensures continued growth, barrier-free access, and responsive services in our community. thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Council, questions? Councilor Iwanicki.
Thanks. Thank you for coming out. I want to know more about the part-time tech services role. If you could explain to us why the library is seeing this as a need in expanding the staffing base over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the stats that we track is the amount of tech help sessions, and we just track the individuals that we help. We do not monitor the amount of time, but it is taking up a significant amount of time. We average about, or we estimate about 100 hours per month. And so this can be as simple as, I got a new smartwatch and I don't know how to use it. Can you please help me set it up? To, I need a CRA account and I don't know how to do that. So the needs of the community, especially in an aging community, are drastic, and there are quite a few people in this community that are being left behind. And the library is the place where they come. So we are requesting a position that would be 15 hours per week, and they would do one-on-one tech help with these people. They would be, book a time slot, and they would be able to bring their devices in and have the need and the support that they need. It would also involve some preemptive training sessions on how to work a smartphone, how to work an iPad, a computer, how to navigate phishing scams, and various security issues that a lot of people are facing these days. So it's definitely a high need that the library identifies, and I think that the community would significantly benefit from.
Thank you. Sure. Absolutely.
Of the budgetary request increase, about 30,000, if I'm reading this correctly, about 30,000 of it is staffing.
Yes,
or
that
salaries.
is correct. And so that would be nearly completely, that position would be the increase, yeah.
How much of that $30,000 increase is this part-time staff request?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can get that number for you.
Sure. Thank you. Councilor Johannesson.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So first of all, thank you for being here. I struggle a little bit with wanting a $30,000 increase, which is quite a bit higher than your previous years. You were 2%, 4%. With basically that entire $30,000 going to staff salaries. I understand, obviously, we're living in a world right now where money's tight for everybody. My wife's a teacher, so I'm very well aware of the, fighting for more money and stuff like that. But the reality is we can't give everybody more money, right? Especially, so I look at this and I go, okay, you said, this is a place where people that are left behind are coming, and that's great. We should improve our library services. $30K extra to salaries.
And Councilor Johannesson, I'll just jump in.
Yeah.
Because we are not debating budget.
No,
We're yeah, there's a question.
Yeah, so the biggest question is there a way for you guys, without coming to the taxpayers for that, to raise money? So you say barrier free. Does that mean you don't charge anything for anyone to use the library?
The only paid services right now is printing. So that would be, you would pay for the price of paper, essentially, and ink, which is 25 cents per page black and white, and $1 per page that's color. There is generally no cost to attend any of our programs, to use the Wi-Fi, to use the computer, to use any of our service. That is one of our core values as the library, is that you don't need to spend money to access library services.
Have you thought about it? Because if the reality is that somebody's paying for it, right? And if you think about, for example, you have 8,000 people or 8,000 visits. If you had 4,000 people pay $5 a month, that's $240,000 a year, right? So it's just something that maybe, I know it's a core value of yours, but a core value of mine as a town councilor is representing the people of Sylvan Lake and the taxpayers as well. So is it something that you've thought about pursuing, something like a $5 a month fee to use? It's worth it. I would pay it, to be honest.
I'm happy to answer. So we actually just removed membership fees last year, and we've seen a significant increase in usership. So what we find is actually, as we used to charge $20 per family annually, and it's a significant barrier for a large portion of our population. So the idea of having a cost per use is, I think, it sounds really nice on paper, but in practice is we actually lose people. And when we focus on the people that get left behind, I think it would be a really hard push for some families to have that extra income to spend for library services.
For sure. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Councillor Payne, did you have a question?
I do, but it's for the actual budget, not for now.
I do have a question. You spoke about an increase for training and development and a little bit about some of the challenges and a need for that around OH&S training. Do library staff take part in some training on preventative connections, any of that relationship building prior to it being an issue and being kind of reactive training?
So all of our staff are first aid trained, which has a little bit of that psychological first aid as part of it, but it's definitely something that as our community has grown, we are playing catch up on. It's not been an issue previously. We've done a couple of conflict management sessions, but it's not, again, been the focus of our training needs. So it's definitely something we're aware of and we need to focus on coming forward.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to talking about that in future years.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any additional questions, Council? Yes, Councillor Bilodeau.
Just talking about doing away with fees, because I remember when my boys were younger, we did have to pay for a membership. So I'm happy to hear for our residents that that's gone. My question is, do we have any tracking for non-resident users?
So because the Sylvan Lake Municipal Library is a part of the Parkland region, anyone who is within that, so say an Eckville patron, they would be registered at the Eckville Library and they would have access to all of the library resources within the Parkland region. There are things and exceptions like Red Deer City, who is not part of the region. If they were to come into the Sylvan Lake Library, they could potentially have a non-resident fee, which is $60 per card or membership. That said, there are provincial resource sharing legislation, which with a program called the ME program, non-residents can register for this membership, which allows them to go into essentially any public library in the province and borrow physical materials. So while there is non-resident charges, there are also programs to kind of mitigate that and to help with the barrier-free access provincially.
Thank you. Yes.
So yeah, I'm just looking at your budget line here. 2024, you guys had $12,000 in membership fees. So you've gotten rid of that, which is obviously your decision. If we approve the budget the same as it was, I guess, last year, which would be not the 30,000, essentially you'd pay your staff the same, but all the other things would be able to be maintained that you have currently in the budget, so you'd still be able to do everything that you want to do with the library as far as, you know, making those things. I just say because you make a choice to lose 12,000, then ask for other people to pay for it, even if it's not the people using the library. So the library without the 30,000 is still going to be able to do all the things that you want to do and you guys want to accomplish, correct? Just without raising staff salaries?
So a bare bones to keep the lights on, we would require a 3% increase. And that is due to our audit and our contractual obligations.
So you have to pay those people more, is what you're saying?
We are required by law to have, well, and actually by the municipality to have an audit, which is about a $20,000 item.
Okay. Okay, yeah, good.
Excellent. Any further questions, Council? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you, Library Board members, for being here. Council, let's take a 10-minute recess. And we'll come back in under business item 7A, the 2026 Parkland Regional Library budget. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Hansen, Council. Good evening. So, yeah, this report, I guess I don't have really anything to add other than my apologies for having the wrong numbers in there for population. I guess I didn't go far enough down in the report. Yeah, so I guess just, you know, as Mr. Shepherd indicated, I guess, you know, their budget's already approved, but yeah. So we're just looking for a direction from council, how they'd like to respond. And we'll respond to them via email tomorrow because the deadline was the 27th. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. Council, do we have any questions before we put a motion on the floor? Seeing none, would someone like to make that motion? Councilor Mearns.
Make a motion that council approve the Parkland Regional Library budget for the 2026 fiscal year at $9.99 per capita and advise the PRL board in writing as outlined in AIR 1274. Read it the same time?
Yeah, I think we can separate them.
Separate? Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Makes the motion easier to send it off in writing.
Okay.
Council, any comments or debate on the Parkland budget? Councilor Iwanicki and then Payne.
Just I suppose a sad comment that I believe, what was his name?
Ron Shepherd.
Ron Shepherd, sorry, I should have known that. I believe the budget's effectively already set in stone, so I'm not sure how much our debate and whinging at it might change things. But nonetheless, I still think that libraries are important, so it's something to consider.
Councilor Payne.
I think the increase that's being asked for is very, very little, comparatively speaking. And the benefit that we get from being a part of Parkland Regional Library, and this is coming from somebody who's criticized it, tried to find reasons to get away from it completely. The benefit is obvious. You can't, right away our library is massively undersized. It's massively under-resourced. It has 15,000 items less than it should for a population of our size. Parkland really helps to fill that gap. So being a part of Parkland is an important piece. Funding Parkland is an important piece. And yeah, I look forward to the time 30 years from now when I can be an old man watching you guys deliberate on removing yourselves from Parkland, but not today.
Excellent. Any further comment? Councilor Johansson.
Yeah, I wish I knew more. Obviously, being a new councillor, I don't know obviously as much as Jazz does about and you guys about what Parkland does. We're the second highest contributor. It looks like more than Lacombe. And Clearwater is a little more. So we're pretty high, $6,000. You know, when I looked at it originally, that 2,600 seemed fine. 5,600 seems obviously double that, a little bit more. But I'm looking forward to, I think, next year figuring more about what they do, and maybe I'll become old Jazz and be on his side then. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure about what's going on, but with what they provide us. So I'm looking forward to learn more about that when we discuss this next year.
Councilor Iwanicki, sure.
Yeah, and then just echoing what Councillor Johansson said, like, Parkland has a lot of flaws with it, and it costs a lot of money. But at the end of the day, it provides a good bridge service for our library here. There's parts of it that I don't love, and you can't really do much about, right? You either accept their budget or not. But I do certainly think that as we progress as a council, it might be 10 years, might be 30 years, but you know, certainly keeping it at the back of our minds to at some point visit whether or not Parkland makes sense. But I don't think today is that day.
I'll just add that I always think, you know, you get what you pull from an organization, and part of that is I really hope that I know we'll at least put a name forward to sit on the Parkland Executive Board, that really does help when it comes to getting a little bit more out of the organization on a governance level, and hopefully we're successful in that. It's really hard to know after an election. You don't know which way the cards will go, but that certainly helps. But I'm okay to pass the budget because even if we don't. Any additional comment, Council? We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Would someone like to make the second motion here? Councillor Payne?
I move the council accept the 2026 budget information from Sylvan Lake Municipal Library and deliberate the request during the Town of Sylvan Lake's operating budget.
Thank you. Any comment or debate, Council? All those in favor and opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move along to property tax exemption request. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Hansen. So with this report, I'm just looking for council to discuss the property tax exemption request from community partners. So they came to council a year ago and made a request, and so it was approved for a one-year time period. Usually we come with these to council asking for a 3-year period exemption. And the reason we did only 1 year last year was to align with some of the other ones that were coming due this year. So there are a couple of, well, one more, I guess, that we're waiting for some additional information on. So that's why it's not on the agenda for this evening. We're hoping to have that for the December 9th meeting. So the Municipal Government Act does specifically exempt a number, various types of properties from property tax exemption, such as schools, churches, those types of things that are specifically mentioned. So when it comes to nonprofits, there's a little more discretion. It's not always, it's more up to the local council to decide if to grant the exemption or not, because as you can see there in the background part of the report, you know, the property is to be used for a charitable or benevolent purpose that's for the benefit of the general public. And so that's why we bring these types of requests to council to make that decision, whether it does in fact meet that criteria or whether it does not. So the properties can be owned by the nonprofit or as outlined in the act and the regulation, held can also be applied to a lease or rental situation. And so with community partners, the latter applies. So they do lease these two space in these two properties, one on 50th Street and one on 50th A Street. So in the regulation, it does outline a number of things that they have to supply to the municipality on an annual basis in order to qualify for the following year by November 30th. We try to be flexible. Sometimes it's after, as I just mentioned. And so in the report, I won't go through all of that there, but there's the list of the documents that are required that they've provided to community partners. So, yeah, so as I mentioned, there's two properties, the addresses there are listed. And as we did last year with this property, we decided to go away from, in the past, we used to provide them a grant in lieu or equal to the property taxes that they would pay normally. So in the past, so last year we went away from that. And so we just put, we work with the assessors more closely just to put the exemption on their actual tax rules. So that's how we're recommending that we proceed with not only this one, but all future requests that come from the community. I think that's about it. So we're looking for council to approve the exemption for lease space at the two properties mentioned in the report for the taxation year 2026 through 2028. If council would request some additional information, we'd be happy to provide that. Or council can deny the request by the applicants in whole or in part for the exemption request applied for.
Excellent. We'll start with any questions, Council. Councillor Awanicki.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. You'll have to excuse my ignorance on how this works mechanically. And I loathe hypotheticals, but if we approve a lengthy period of an exemption, what happens if Community Partners was to vacate that property and then move somewhere else?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Awanicki, great question. So we do require that the organization provide all this information by November 30th each year to qualify. If they do sell the property, it of course comes through the tax department. And we did see this with Vantage Community Homes just recently. They used to be one of the organizations that qualified under this. So whenever they sold the property, we made an adjustment based on the sale date. So yeah, so we monitor it on an annual basis, and if the property changes hands. Or if they have a lease situation, if the lease is, yeah.
Thank you. And Mr. Moore, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a very small list of properties that qualify.
It's very small. Yeah.
4 potentially that I can think of in town. There might be a couple more than
Yeah,
that.
there's, I guess, these 2, I guess, if you consider these separate, and really it's just one property, other property now, that we're waiting for additional information on.
Excellent. Thank you. Council, any additional questions? Councillor Johansson.
Are they currently paying property tax then, and they're
They were exempted a year ago at this time for the 2025 taxation year.
Okay, so that's the current status?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Would someone like to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Bilodeau.
The council approve the property tax exemption request from Community Partners for property leased at 5043 50A Street and 5026 50th Street for the 2026, 2027, 2028 taxation years as outlined in report AR-1271.
Excellent. Any debate on that item?
Just to say that this is an organization that absolutely serves the community more than any other organizations in the community. So it's an absolute awesome thing.
Seeing no further hands, all those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move along to bylaw 1932-2025, the fees and charges bylaw. Do we have any conflict of interest to declare? That's your time. Just before you depart, Councillor Johansson, you'll just have to state why. Sorry.
Yeah, so I rent from the town quite a bit for the camps that I run, so I pay these fees, and so, yeah. Yes, correct, yeah, sorry, Don. I'll get better.
No, first time. Thank you. We will call you once we wrap up. Thank you.
So we're looking for a second and, yes, thank you, Mayor Hansen, second and third reading tonight. First was at the last meeting of council. It's just schedule, not sure, community services. And if you have any questions, there's some people in this room that would love to answer them for you. And it won't be me.
Wonderful. I do have some questions to start. One I led into a little bit at the last meeting, but I'm curious how the NextSource memberships have increased or decreased in comparison to rate increases over the last number of years, or decreases, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Hansen. So the membership rates specifically have increased. We can report on that in the quarterly reports, and we will certainly bring that forward to council shortly for Q3, but the membership rates themselves have gone up. We look at the primarily 6-month, but mostly the 1-year passes or memberships as being really critical for Sylvan Lake residents. The 1-day rates, the 10-time pass, the 1-month pass, 3-month, those are not really designed so much for residents, those are more for visitors. So we do focus on having higher rates for the lower numbers of memberships, and then lower rates for the 6-month and specifically the 1 year.
Thank you. When that comes back, I really would like to see a chart is I'm very interested in, as we've made those increases, of course we've increased in memberships, but has the trajectory of memberships increased, or has it at the same rate after we've increased the rates is really what I'm looking for. And to elaborate, years ago we had a discussion, our rates were similar to actually what they are now, and we had proposed that those rates be slashed almost in half, and we saw membership rates skyrocket. And then we've creeped those rates up over the years, and I'm curious how that has, of course I would expect we always sell more memberships because we have more people in town, and that should increase a little bit, but really looking to see those numbers and how they play with each other.
Yeah, and we can add that to the quarterly report. There's a couple things, and I do have some numbers tonight that I can share. But when you're looking at, if we just had a one kind of a membership, it would be super easy. But when we look at infants, children, youth, adults, seniors, it does make it difficult as kids transition from an infant pass to a child pass. You're going to see differences in the memberships. We did increase the rates January 2nd of 2025. When we looked and compared January 2nd, 2024 to January 2nd, 2025, we would not have expected to see memberships go up or down because the rates really stayed the same, but we did see a substantial difference. So I broke it down between the one-year memberships and the one-year family memberships because that really made the most sense. Those are the highest price points, but when you look at a family, it could and usually does include 4 people or more. The one-year memberships in 24, we had 626 for just the 1 year, and then the one-year family was 127. Then when we looked at 2025, January 2nd, the one-year membership was 583, so it went down a little bit, which didn't really make sense because the rate just went in that day, so you should not expect to see a difference. And the one-year family membership went down to 83. We increased the rates on that day, and then when we look at year to date, and I pulled these numbers on the 17th, so I can't give you a full 1 year accurate number. The one-year memberships went over just over 1,000, and the family memberships went to 467. So we're seeing a substantial increase in our membership rates. Now, when we look at memberships, we'll also need to compare admission rates, and so there's going to be some give and take there. So it is hard to give council some really good data because we don't know. We don't know if it's somebody that continually went to the Next Source Center week after week and then eventually just purchased a membership. So there's so many different variables, but we'll try and break that down for council in the quarterly report. We won't break it down in depth for the Q3, but we will do that for the Q4.
Excellent. Thank you. One additional question is on page 85 of our agenda, and it's around business licensing. Let me get to it. There we go. I had the question today, and maybe just the comment, that there isn't a category for nonprofits. And I'm wondering where they fit within then, specifically sporting groups is I think where the question was around, but have we considered a nonprofit category for business licensing is I guess my question.
So that will be our business licensing department, so I can't speak to them. We have had conversations in the past about that. I know that is something that they were working on and looking at bringing forward to council. I just can't comment on the timeline for that.
Sure. Thank you. Additional questions, council? Seeing none, would someone like to put forward a motion? Councillor Awaniki.
I just got to find the page, sorry.
That's okay.
I left it.
77.
Foolish me.
77, yeah.
All right. I move that council approve second reading of the fees and charges bylaw 1932/2025 as outlined in AIR-1277. Do I have to do both?
No. Excellent. We'll open up for debate.
Sure. Just a comment, since you brought it up, or Mayor Hansen brought it up on the Next Source fees. I just want to flag this just because it's on my mind, and if I don't do it now, I'll forget and it'll never come up again. Just in regards to the Next Source pass, like our family, and we're by no stretch of the imagination struggling, still didn't buy the yearly pass, right? We got the 10 punch pass, and then we continuously do that. So I think there is room for movement on that 10 punch pass, is what I'm getting at. Just food for future thought. Just because a lot of people who they don't use it as regularly, right? And even if they live here. So anyway, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
And I can comment on that. So we do regularly review our fees. And so in the fee guide, you'll see, and it probably didn't make any sense, but it goes to a number of years. And so the passes, for example, or membership rates, it goes from 2023 to 2020, I think it's 26. So we'll be doing a full review next year, 2026, for the upcoming years. So when we do that, we assess common, like municipalities similar to our size, what we have going on for facilities. So we'll look at all of our rates. We've recently done that with our multi-campus facility with that committee, but we will do that for ICE, swimming pool, all of our programming. And so we will go with that same kind of process with that.
Thank you. Councillor Bilodeau.
When you do renewals, in my mind, that's the best time to ask a couple of questions so you get an understanding of the users. So are you renewing again? Have you previously had an annual pass? You know, those simple questions, that's how you get to, because, you know, it is tough to measure 1 year to the next because our user groups change, families grow. I'm just curious if that would be something that's valuable, like just every renewal you have 3 standard questions or that sort of idea?
Through the chair, we can certainly do that. Now, with the memberships, if people renew before it expires, there's a 15% discount. So we can easily pull that information. We can see, and that will look as though it's an active membership. It's not something that became inactive. So we can see that. When I pulled the data to get the numbers for Mayor Hansen, I was able to see that there's a lot of those that were actually quite new. And we know that there's a lot of new people coming in. I could also see those ones that were active for a number of years, and so they don't let their memberships expire, but I can look into that as well and see what types of questions we can ask. When we're putting questions forward to the public, it's always questions that we want an answer for and can act on. So that's something that's really important to us. We don't want to just ask a question to ask a question. So this year would certainly be a really good year to do that, especially with bringing forward new fees for council in 2027. It's something that we can make additional recommendations on.
I missed a question. It's on page 112 of the agenda, and I'm really happy to see that we've enrolled in the Access 2 program. It just has a statement around, through this program, people with permanent disabilities who require a support person will be granted free or discounted admission for the support person. And I'm wondering why we didn't pick a lane, because this doesn't actually tell us what we provide.
Certainly. So for the majority of the time, it will be free. So, but there would be times when it could be something where we've maybe partnered with an organization and we're putting on an event together. So for example, a good example would be BRC. So we've partnered with an organization to put that on. We wouldn't have full authority to say that we can grant free admission or a free pass to something. And so that may be something where we need to look at that, or it could be something where we're bringing a performer in or somebody that costs a substantial amount of money, and we may need to recoup a little bit of the cost, but the majority of the time it is free. Anytime right now, all of our programs are fully inclusive, so we have always supported those to come to the programs. When we've done concerts and shows and things like that, the support person is always welcome. Same thing with any of the programs. If it's the walking track or an aquafit class, for example, they have always been granted free access.
And I guess if I could just express, and so you know where I'm going, Council, I'm interested in doing second reading, but I do have a couple of questions, and I'd love for us to delay third reading to find out about the business license question. But also, I'd love to see the statement clarified, even if it's just we're committing to the free NextSource drop-in pass, and other things could be subject, you know, other things aren't clarified, but if we're committing that the drop-in rate for the support person is free, I think we should put that in black and white. And the reason why I say that that is important is one of the ways that people find out that we are accessible is by looking on the Access To website. And it is an extra challenge if you have to phone every place that's listed on the website to find out. It is so much easier if we can just tell them what is offered. And then you could still have the clause, you know, additional outside of drop-in rates, please call, or something along that line. But if there is something like a swimming drop-in or a track drop-in that is offered for the support person, I'd love for us to clarify that in this document. And then just to re-express, I am really interested in knowing about that nonprofit or how nonprofits fit into our business licensing fee. The question that was expressed today was from a sporting group. They don't have an office in town, but they're still required to pay a business licensing fee, and they just weren't quite sure how they fit in. And I don't know the answer to that, so I'd love to find out how that could be incorporated and laid out clearly. Council, any additional debate? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor for second reading. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Are there any negative implications to delaying third reading, Ms. Phillips?
No, I do not think there's an issue there.
Councilor, are you comfortable with that? Excellent. Although, no, we don't need a, no. Feels like it's been a really long day. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. All right, we will welcome back. Move along to the Sylvan Lake Regional Wastewater Commission, Town of Sylvan Lake request for comment.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Khan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the purpose of this report is to seek Council approval and see if there is any comments to our attached letter to the Council report. That will go to the Regional Commission. Sylvan Lake Regional Wastewater Commission has circulated their proposed capital and operating budget for 2026 and the operating plan for 2027 to 2029. Some of the key points are the wastewater rates will increase by 2.93%. Transfer to reserve will increase from $200,000 to $300,000. And although the city of Red Deer has indicated there will be no increase in the wastewater rates, but still the commission thinks that they will be increasing by 2% because next year in 2028, city of Red Deer will be increasing their rates, so to lower that impact, that's why they will be increasing this to 1.41, which is 2% increase from the last year. In the capital, there are a couple of items that they will be dealing with. Number one is decommissioning of old septic receiving station, which will cost $129,000, and it will be covered from the commission's reserves. Meter chamber replacement, $60,000, and the engineering for phase 5, stage 5 design only, which is $110,000. 90% of that will be covered by the Water for Life grant, and $71,000, which is 10%, will be covered from the commission's reserves. Equil will become a member from January 1st, and then they will be contributing to the reserves, and they will be paying the same charges as the other municipalities. Resource impact is a total of $125,000 for the town because of these increases, which include increase in the into reserve, and 2% increase of the Red Deer wastewater treatment cost. So the letters that we have attached, the town agrees to the rate increase. It's a reasonable increase. The town also agrees to the transfer to the reserve, $100,000, and has asked the commission to develop a asset management plan to justify that amount. There are some issues with the transmission fees that we have asked a question from commission to respond. Commission has made some changes in the Northern Ward and Jarvis Bay. They will be charging their residents 9 meter cube per month versus 20 meter cube per month as per previous agreement. And we have asked a question on that because they are justifying that Birchcliff lift station meter volume will be applied to these, although the agreement says that we will be charging them 20 meter cube per month. So this is a significant decrease, and they have done this change unilaterally. So we have asked question why they are doing this. Item number 4 is about the impact of stage 5 capital project. They have not included any amount for the capital project of stage 5. So it is our assumption that they will be doing engineering next year, and they will be putting that in 2028. So there will be a big increase or sudden increase in the rates. So we have asked a question from them whether it will be incremental or all of a sudden we will see a surge in the rate in 2028. So if the council agrees, we will send out this letter. Thank you. If you have any questions, we will be happy to answer.
Thank you. We'll start with the questions, Council. Sure. I'll start with one that's just within the resort report under resource impacts. It talks about that the cost will be accommodated within the town's utility budget. Is that referring to an increase in that budget that we need to look at to accommodate?
Definitely, yeah. So we have to increase our contracted services by $125,000 to cover that.
To make up for that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilor Iwaniki, did you get?
Scratch that, actually.
Scratch that. You are getting off really easy tonight because our resident expert is on an airplane. Any additional questions, Council? Great. Would someone? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please, Councilor Iwaniki.
Since Councilor Estindi's not here. You're the expert? No. No. I like water. That's my expertise. Anyway, the stage 5 new route, is that the one that's being proposed out to Eckville? Am I correct on that?
Yes, the original plan was that a line will run from Eckville and will run through the town. But now, for the stage 1, it will be in 2 stages. For stage 1 is from the town to Half Moon Bay, and stage 2 will be from Half Moon Bay to Eckville. But that plan has been changed by the commission. They had Stantec, and they think that they can lower the cost by running the line on northern side, which will cost around $20 million as per Stantec report. And the earlier report was $43 million. So yes, this is the one.
Okay. And then I guess kind of spilling over on that, I'm just noticing, if I'm reading it correctly, so the 2026 reserves are projected to go down by about $30,000. But this new stage 5 route is projected to increase the cost for the total project significantly. Is there any concerns that the reserves are lowering, but the project cost is going up?
So actually, they have mentioned that the project cost will come down from the original was 43 million, and now, as per Stantec report, they say it will cost $20 million. So it will be beneficial, but we will see when they do the detail engineering and survey, everything is done. We don't know for sure, like, will it actually come down to this much or not?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Council, any additional questions? Would someone like to make a motion? Councilor Mearns.
I'll make a motion that the council receive this report as information and direct administration to send out comments to the Sylvan Lake Regional Wastewater Commission as presented in AIR 1269.
Excellent. We'll open it up for debate. Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council will move along to item number 7G. It's the appointment of councillor to the Cake Board, and this was one that we pulled off of the consent agenda. I'm going to recommend that we go into closed session just for a couple of minutes to discuss, just due to the nature of the board appointment, and Councillor Iwanicki actually has a motion for this one. So we'll make that motion, council. We'll step into the back. For those here in the gallery, I do not anticipate that this will be an incredibly long item before we come back out. Councillor Iwanicki.
I move that council move to a closed meeting to discuss advice from officials, and this item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 24 sub 1 sub A of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, RSA 2000, chapter, I don't remember what F stands for, F-25, and section 197 sub 2 of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, chapter M-26.
Excellent.
And that this closed, do I have to read that second part?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? That this closed section session concludes and council revert. Oh,
no,
that's
sorry,
what I was
don't
saying.
read
I was
that
like, hold on.
Stop.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was bad advice. Let's not come out before we go in. Yes, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Is out. Councillor Payne, do you have a motion for us?
Yes, I move that this closed session concludes and council revert back to the regular meeting of council.
Excellent. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Council, let's take 6 minutes and we will come back in at 6:50.
Here. Council, we have a motion on page 168. Would anyone be interested in moving that regarding our CAPE appointment? We've already did that and we, yes. Did we not? Yeah, and we voted. Yes, so we're out of closed. Even we don't know what we're doing. Ms. Reynolds, we did make that motion, right? Yes. Councillor Payne and I are not losing our marbles.
No, just me.
Just Councillor Iwanicki, sorry for your luck. Now we'd like to make a motion regarding our appointment to CAPE. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Mearns was first.
Make a motion that council supports the nomination of Councillor Joseph Iwanicki to the Central Alberta Economic Partnership in the role of CAPE Board Director as per AIR 1275.
Excellent. Any comment or debate, Council? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. As a follow-up step, I know we need to submit that before 1 p.m. tomorrow, so we'll lean on administration to assist us with getting in all of the documents on time. Thank you for putting your name forward. Next, we'll move into correspondence and information items. We've got a number of them listed here. Council, do we have any questions on these? Seeing none, we'll move into the CAO report. Ms. Phillips.
All right. One thing I want to note at the beginning of this report is with our bi-weekly meetings, I'd like, if it's all right with council, I'd like to bring the CAO report to the second meeting of the month rather than every month or every meeting, if you're okay with that. Sometimes it's hard to, you know, we're going meeting to meeting with committee of the whole, council committee, and actioning and everything. It would be easier to just compile everything for a month and bring it in. Okay? So the report is in the agenda for if you have any additional questions or things you want to highlight. I'll just highlight a few. Within Wellness and Community Connections, a lot of programming and a lot of training going on for our staff, which is always wonderful to see. And then we're also seeing an increase in the numbers of youth attending the Flipside Teen Center, or teen programs. Again, always wonderful to see our youth in the community taking part in these programs. Next source, of course, we removed the curling ice for the bull riding BRC. The ice is almost ready. It looks wonderful. We were there today and it looks amazing. So great job on that. And then of course we have our Yuletide Festival coming up on December 6th and 7th. A lot of comments, a lot of hype in the community about our lighting up the lake. And the Parks is currently working with the Winter Village Committee on programming the Winter Village for the holiday season. I also wanted to highlight the charity check stop. There was quite a few things in there that I thought were really important to highlight. The other one was the fire department charity check stop happening also on December 6th from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. Environmental Services, able to continue doing some maintenance work on the CCs, the curb stops valves, with the mild temperatures, I guess, and lack of snow. So that's a benefit there. And then we've also, in engineering, put in some rectangular rapid flash beacons temporarily installed around 47th Ave, and Devanaz and Iron Gate intersection until the traffic signals go into that location. And I think that was it.
Excellent. Any questions, Council? Councillor Iwanicki.
Very, very short one. And my excuse or apologies if this hasn't already been given, but this little charity check stop flyer, is that circulated somewhere that could be shared easily online? I just haven't seen it.
Communications is here, so we'll make sure that we find some information, or maybe you can comment.
I guess my comment is we'll connect with our team at the fire department. I know that they kind of handle a lot of the material around the charity check stop, and we'll certainly amplify it as best we can. It's a great program that's fairly well known, but as we know, we've always got new folks visiting and moving to Sylvan Lake that may not be aware of it, so we can certainly amplify it on their behalf.
And while you spoke, I had time to look. It's the most recent post on the Sylvan Lake Fire Department's page and has been shared 30 times. So it's great that we can, as council, also share that if we're interested. Great question. Ms. Phillips, can you tell me more about what the Soaring Youth Engagement is? Soaring Youth Engagement took place on November 20th, but I don't know what that means.
Monique, do you happen to have any information on that? Or sorry, Ms. Collicutt?
I know, I have to apologize because I also called you by the last name wrong twice tonight. I hope I never do.
Me too. Yes, so it's a program that our Flipside Youth Center hosted in the NextSource Center. So it ran on the 20th. It was designed for ages 14 to 17, and it ran for a couple hours in the evening. So they had pizza and some different prizes. They were working on addressing barriers to healthy living, safe and active lives. So they were working through some different planning, carrying out projects that would help the young people in our community and identify barriers to living healthy, safe and active lives.
Excellent. That's great. And how did we have great attendance? Do you know? I'm probably asking a question you don't know the answer to. I'm sure it was fantastic. Thank you.
If council would like, I can get that information and send it through email.
That's great. If looks could kill, I would be in trouble. That's why I asked. Council, any additional questions on the CAO report? Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move into council request for information and updates. I do have a question regarding just some administrative advice on tonight's open microphone presentation. I feel the need to have some more information back from administration. Does this bridge into a notice of motion request, or is there some high-level information that could come back at a future time just to allow us to properly respond and consider?
The open mic?
Or sorry, the delegation from Marina Bay.
Thank you. Well, this one's a tricky one because there was a formal request from the delegation. So I feel that administratively we should be responding regardless. So even if it was just that, you know, at this point to say that yes, you would like information back, I think either way I would have our Public Works action this and bring back, I'm thinking almost an opinion from our environmental services in terms of what is happening there.
Certainly.
And then see where that leads us. Maybe that leads us then to a notice of motion.
Okay.
Is my thought.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Councillor Iwanicki, yeah.
Expand on that a little bit. And I assume it's probably self-evident, but especially given my question, if our environmental services department can look into that product that they're putting in the lake, because I'm concerned that they're asking us to do something that might be impossible / illegal to do.
We would definitely make sure that all the I's were dotted and T's were crossed to make sure everything was done to our standards, which are very high. So yes, I would make sure that we have that information for you, yes.
But also work, second time's a charm.
Yeah.
Also, just for our own sake, I would like to know whether or not residents are dumping product into the lake that they shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
Like whether or not it's something we can approve. Just for our own information, I think that's important to know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. Councillor Bilodeau.
I just wanted to bring light to the fact that probably all of us, or some of us, received these questions during when we were running in the election.
Okay.
And of course, no information like what they presented was given to us. But so what I'm wanting to know is, you'll get the information. Does it come back through us before we give it to them? Or what's the process on that exactly?
Well, sorry, yes, should be going through. Their request was simply that we budget for this. So that part would go to our budget deliberations if we choose to go there. us providing response, we'll come back to council to say, from an engineer, from our, environmental services perspective, this is the information we have on hand. I can tell you, she's been in good, they were really great at communicating with Ms. Johnson. We didn't have a lot of this information, from what I understand, prior to a lot of this coming up more recently. Like, we didn't know about the chemical additions and things like that. So she's been working really closely with them and already started looking into it, because it is important to us because of our lake health. So either way, we're in now. We have information. We want to make sure that we're, we will communicate all that back, yes, to council, at a council meeting. Yes.
Excellent. Sure. Just another question. So, it's 7 years that they've been doing this. Is this a common thing where people are adding things into the lake and then asking us later if we would help fund it?
If I could jump in, I would say it's not common, but that is why I'm really looking forward to some information back, because I'd hate to put administration on the spot and have you create an answer before we've had time to do that high-level research. But no, we have not had a request like this before.
And there's aspects of this that as they were talking really made me kind of go, wait a second, like the whole pumping water from one part of the lake into another part of the lake. Like, I know in the past when we've talked about something as simple as moving sand, we almost went to jail, right? So I really do think that there's a lot more to this situation than simply, hey, can you give us $40,000 so we can do this for... No, and I think the liability on taking control of those pumps, that just sounds like something I really want Ms. Johnson to give us the best possible understanding of this.
And making sure those proper permissions are in place already, right? So we're working on it, and we will bring information back to council, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Iwanicki.
No. Did you get information from them? Because full disclosure, I talked with these guys before the election, so I knew a little bit of background on this. But they also received, what I understand, and I might be wrong, they received like grant funding from like Royal Bank or something along those lines.
Yeah, there was some information in there.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was to do the pump or what have you. I don't know if that matters.
That was a bit of a separate project to my memory, but
It might have been the water shed right by the golf course. Maybe that's what that was.
Yeah.
For, but
we'll wait for some information back.
Yes, from the pro.
Yes, which is
not me.
All right, any additional council requests for information updates? Councillor Iwanicki, I did nudge you to see if you'd be interested in making a motion, because we've hit 7 o'clock and our procedural bylaw says we cannot continue unless we have a motion to extend.
I'm just going to wing it. I do move that we extend our meeting to go beyond 7 p.m.
Nailed it. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. I will note that Councillor Payne does have a hard stop in not too long, but I think we can get through this next item in not too long. We have one more item to address tonight, and it is a land matter in a closed meeting. Councillor Mearns.
Make a motion the council move to a closed meeting to discuss advice from officials, land matter, and this item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 24(1)A of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, RSA 2000 CF25, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000 CM26.
Excellent. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Council will head straight back so we can get the bulk of this item Counselor, and I do have to note that at 7:25, Counselor Payne had to depart the meeting. Counselor Johansson.
I move that the closed session concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
Excellent. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Council, we've reached the end of our agenda items, so our meeting is adjourned. Have a great evening.